The glass in my hand felt heavier than it should have. My father had invited a handful of people to the house for a small celebration. I had no idea what he was celebrating until he stood up, tapped his glass, and said it. "Everyone, I'd like you to meet my wife, Juliet." The room clapped. I just stared at her. She stepped forward in a pale blue dress that caught the light in a way I could not ignore. Her hair framed her face perfectly, and her smile reached her eyes. I forced myself to put my drink down and clap. "Congratulations," I said when they came to me. "Thank you, Julian," she replied, her voice smooth. "Your father speaks so much about you," my father chuckled.
Mostly good things, I promise."
I nodded. "Mostly." "Hey, I had to warn her you can be stubborn," he said, grinning. Juliet's eyes stayed on mine a moment too long before she turned to greet someone else. That look stayed with me. Later, while my father was across the room talking to his friend, Juliet approached me. "So, you're the famous son." "I didn't know I was famous," I said, half smiling. "You should." "You have a presence," she said, tilting her head. "I can see why your father is proud. That's kind of you." She glanced toward my father again, then back at me. "I'm sure this is strange for you." "Strange? Your father marrying someone he met so recently?" "I would feel the same in your place." I kept my voice neutral. "If you make him happy, that's what matters." Her lips curved. "I'd like to think I can do that." She placed her hand on mine lightly. "I hope I can make you comfortable too." Her skin was warm. I pulled my hand back casually and took a sip of my drink. Comfort takes time. "I agree," she said softly. "Sometimes time can be shortened." I frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, my father joined. "Us. Julian, have you tried the shrimp?" Juliet insisted on having it catered from the place downtown. "It's good," I said. "It's excellent," Juliet added, her smile now fixed on him. "I wanted tonight to be special." When dinner started, my father sat at the head of the table, Juliet to his right, me to his left. Between the laughter and clinking glasses, I could feel her eyes on me. When I finally looked, she didn't look away. "Do you like the food?" she asked, her voice carrying just enough to reach me over the chatter. "It's good." She smiled again. "I'll have to make something for you myself one day." I gave a small nod and focused on my plate. Her foot brushed mine under the table. I moved mine slightly, but she didn't pull hers back right away, halfway through. The meal, my father leaned toward his friend on the other side, distracted in conversation. Juliet took the moment to lean toward me. Her voice dropped. "I hope you don't mind that I intend to get to know you better. I think we could be close." My grip tightened slightly on my fork. "We'll see." "Good," she said, sitting back as if nothing happened. After dinner, guests filtered out into the living room for drinks. I stepped outside onto the patio for some air. The night was quiet except for faint music from inside. "You escaped," Juliet's voice came from behind me. "Just needed some fresh air." She stepped beside me, close enough for her shoulder to brush mine. "Do you usually avoid crowds?" "Sometimes." "I don't mind crowds," she said, looking at the stars. "But I like quiet moments better. You learn more about someone. When it's just the two of you?" "Maybe," I said cautiously. She turned to face me. "Your eyes are the same as your father's, but the way you look at people is different." "How do I look at people?" "Like you're measuring them, deciding if they deserve your attention." "Do you?" I asked. She smiled faintly. "I'm still deciding." Before I could respond, my father called from inside. "Want you for a toast?" She gave me one last glance. "We'll continue this another time." Back inside, the rest of the night passed in polite conversation. I kept my distance, speaking with a few guests I knew. But each time Juliet moved through the room, I felt her presence. She laughed easily, charmed everyone, and yet every so often her gaze returned to me. When the guests left, I started stacking plates in the kitchen. Juliet came in with 2 wine glasses. "You don't have to do that," she said. "I don't mind." She set the glasses down and leaned on the counter. "I know this is new for you. I don't expect you to accept me instantly." "Get used to it," I said, rinsing a plate. "I hope you do," she said softly. I'd like us to be more than just polite to each other. That depends on you, I said, meeting her eyes. Her smile returned, slow and deliberate. I'll take that as a challenge. Before I could answer, my father walked in. There you are, everything all right? Fine, Juliet said, her tone light. We were just talking, I dried my hands. I'm heading up. Long day. Good night, son, my father said. Good night, Julian, Juliet added, her voice lower now. I nodded and walked upstairs, closing my door behind me. My heart was beating faster than it should. It wasn't just the fact that she was beautiful. It was the way she looked at me, the way she spoke as if we shared a secret no one else could see. And I wasn't sure if I wanted to forget that or remember it. Asterisk, the kitchen light was dim, just the soft glow from the stove clock. I opened the fridge for water and nearly jumped when I heard her voice. Can't sleep either? Juliet stood barefoot by the counter, holding a mug. Just thirsty, I said. She took a slow sip of whatever was in her cup. Chamomile tea helps me relax. I'll stick to water. You're not much of a tea person? She asked. Not really, as she leaned against the counter. You should try it sometime. I could make you a cup. I'll pass. Grabbed my bottle and started for the door. Julian, she said. I stopped. Do you always avoid people this much? I'm not avoiding anyone. I'm going to bed. Her lips curved slightly. All right, good night. The next afternoon, I was reading by the pool when she walked out in a sundress, carrying a tray with lemonade. She set it on the table beside me. Thought you might want some, she said. Thanks. She sat across from me, legs crossed. You've been quiet all day. I've been reading. What's the book? I showed her the cover. She nodded, slowly. Heavy subject. It's interesting. She tilted her head. You always choose serious things? Usually. Her eyes lingered on me before she took a sip of her drink. I like people who think deeply. It makes them harder to read. Went back to my book. Some people like to be read, do you? She asked. No. She smiled faintly. Then, I'll have to keep guessing. Later that week, I stepped onto the porch where my mother used to sit. Juliet was already there with a blanket over her lap. Hope I'm not taking your spot, she said. It's fine. She patted the seat beside her. Join me for a few minutes. I sat, keeping some distance. Your father's working late again, she said. Does he always work this much? Always. Must be hard. I'm used to it. Looked at me closely. You don't give much away, do you? Not to people I don't know well. I'm trying to change that, she said, her voice softer now. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed. I used it as an excuse to leave. 2 days later, I was in the living room when I caught movement outside the glass door. Juliet was standing in the yard, looking straight at me. I stared back, waiting for her to look away. She didn't. Her expression didn't change either. Finally, she came inside. You were watching me, she said. You were watching me first. Was I? Right. Her voice carried a hint of amusement. Yes, she stepped closer. Maybe I was curious. About what? You. She walked past me toward the kitchen without another word. That night, we had dinner together. My father had invited a colleague, so the table was lively. I focused on my plate until I felt a light touch against my foot. I moved it slightly, thinking it was an accident, but the touch came again. I looked up at her. She kept talking to my father, her expression calm. I shifted further back. She didn't move her foot. When the colleague left, I stayed behind to clear dishes. Juliet followed me into the kitchen. Thank you for helping, she said. It's nothing. She leaned against the counter, watching me. You're not very talkative at the table. I didn't have much to say, you could have said. Something to me? I stacked plates. I think you'd say enough for both of us, she smiled. I like making conversation, especially with someone interesting. I kept my tone flat. You have a strange way of showing interest. Her smile widened just a little. You noticed. I set the last plate down. What do you want from me? She tilted her head. I told you I want us to be closer. Why? She looked at me for a moment before answering. Because I think you're worth knowing? I stepped back, needing space. I think you should focus on my father. I am, she said softly. But that doesn't mean I can't care about you too. The way she said it made my chest tighten. I didn't trust my voice, so I walked past her toward the stairs. Good night, Julian, she called after me. I didn't answer. Rain hammered the windows, drowning out the faint crackle of the fire. My father had retreated to his study hours earlier, a half-empty glass in his hand. When I passed by earlier, he was already slumped in his chair. I stayed in the living room, the warmth of the fireplace making the storm outside feel far away, cozy in here. Juliet's voice came from behind me. I looked up. Better than staring at the rain? She walked in holding 2 mugs. Tea, she said, handing one to me. I took it. Thanks. She sat beside me, closer than I expected. Our knees almost touched. I thought you might need company. Was fine, I know, she said with a small smile. But sometimes fine is boring. I took a sip of the tea. She always tried to keep people entertained, only the ones I want to know better. Her eyes lingered on me. I focused on the fire. Where's my father? Sleeping. He works too much. Drinks too much too, she said quietly. I didn't answer. She leaned back. Tell me something about you. Something I wouldn't find out from anyone else. I don't usually share things like that. Then start small. What was your childhood like? Normal enough. That's vague, she said, tilting her head. Did you have friends? Girlfriends? A few friends? And no, not really. No one caught your eye? I smirked faintly. I didn't say that. So there was someone, she pressed. Maybe. Her lips curved. Gosh, what was she like? It doesn't matter now. She studied my face. You don't like talking about yourself? Is it because you think people will use it against you? Something like that. She shifted, her thigh brushing mine. I'm not here to hurt you. That's reassuring, I said, keeping my tone neutral. She sipped her tea, then set it down on the table. Do you want to know something about me? Sure. I didn't have much growing up. My father left when I was little. My mother worked double shifts just to keep the lights on. That's rough. Her eyes softened. It taught me to fight for what I want, and not to waste time pretending I don't want it. I felt her gaze, but didn't meet it. And what do you want right now? She smiled slightly. To know what kind of person you are when you're not guarded. I'm always guarded. She reached for her mug again. Her hand brushed mine, but she didn't pull away. You don't have to be. Set my cup down. Maybe I'd prefer it that way. Or maybe you're afraid of what happens if you're not, she said softly. Her fingers lingered on my wrist. Didn't move, but my pulse quickened. You're asking questions you shouldn't? I said, am I? Yes, her voice dropped. Then maybe you should tell me to stop. That room felt smaller. The sound of rain grew louder against the windows. Juliet, I said, finally looking at her. She didn't move her hand. Say it, and I'll stop. I held her gaze, but the words didn't come. She leaned back slowly, her smile faint. Thought so? I picked up my mug again, more for something to do than because I wanted the tea. You should get some rest. Maybe I will, she said, standing. But I like it here by the fire. I might stay a little longer. I watched her walk toward the hallway, her steps unhurried. My wrist still felt warm where her fingers had been. Asterisk, I woke to a faint knock. My clock read 2:14 a.m. Julian, a soft voice called. I sat up. What is it? Juliet stood at my doorway in a silk robe, her hair loose over her shoulders. I think I heard something downstairs. I swung my legs out of bed. Like what? A noise. Maybe the wind. I don't feel right. All right, I said, grabbing a hoodie. Stay here. I'd rather come with you. We walked down the hall, our footsteps muffled by the carpet. The house was silent except for the rain tapping the windows. You sure it wasn't the storm? I asked. I'm not sure, she said quietly. It sounded different. In the kitchen, I flipped on the small light over the stove. The glow spread across the counters. Nothing looks disturbed, I said. She stepped closer to the window. Maybe it was outside. I checked the back door. It's locked. Good, she said, turning toward me. Her face caught in the dim light, shadows softening her features. I realized I was staring, Thank you for coming down with me, she said. It's fine. She moved a little closer. You could have just told me to go back to bed. You sounded worried. Her eyes searched mine. You always take care of people like that? I try, I noticed. I stepped back slightly, but the counter was behind me. She closed the space again. Her perfume was warm and sweet, filling the air between us. You're different from your father, she said. In what way? You listen, you see people. He's elsewhere most of the time. It doesn't mean that doesn't. I mean, I can't appreciate the difference, she interrupted, her voice low. I kept my tone firm. Shouldn't be saying things like that. She tilted her head. Why not? You know why? Her gaze held mine. If you really wanted me to stop, you'd walk away right now. I didn't move. She smiled faintly. Exactly. You're making this complicated, I said. Life's already complicated, she replied. I'm just being honest. Exhaled slowly. You're married to my father. I know, she said, her eyes not wavering. But sometimes the heart doesn't care about rules. I shook my head. You're playing with fire. Maybe, she said softly, but maybe I like the warmth. We stood there in silence for a moment. The rain outside seemed louder now. You should go back upstairs, I said finally. She leaned in just enough that her voice was a whisper. You didn't tell me you wanted me to. I'm telling you now. Her smile didn't fade. Good night. Julian, she turned and walked toward the stairs. I stayed in the kitchen, my heart racing, my mind trying to catch up with what had just happened. I wasn't sure if I wanted the storm to drown it out or remember every word. Asterisk. The cabin smelled faintly of pine and damp earth, the kind of scent that clung to you no matter how many showers you took. Well, Dad had insisted the weekend trip would bring us closer as a family. I wasn't sure what he meant by that, but judging. By the way, Juliet looked at me when no one else was watching. It wasn't the kind of closeness he imagined. Saturday afternoon, rain pattered against the windows, and Dad was outside chopping wood. I sat on the couch scrolling through my phone when Juliet's voice drifted from behind me. What's that you're looking at? I tilted the screen slightly. Just some photos from last summer. She stepped closer. Show me. It's nothing interesting, I said. Her weight sank into the cushion beside me. I'll decide that. Her shoulder brushed mine as she leaned over. A strand of her hair fell forward, grazing my cheek. The scent of her shampoo was warm, almost sweet, and it made my chest feel uncomfortably tight. You look different here, she murmured, tapping one of the photos. That was before I cut my hair. I like it this way, she said quietly. Her hand rested on my knee, light at first, then steady. I glanced toward the window. Dad's still out there.
No.
She didn't move her hand, and the sound of the axe striking would rang through the damp air. My voice came out lower than I intended. And nothing, she tilted her head. Do I make you nervous? I swallowed. You know you do. Her smile was slow, almost knowing. Good. The cabin door creaked open, and Dad called from the porch. Firewood's in the shed. I'll be another 20 minutes. Juliet finally moved her hand, but not far. Guess we're safe for a while. I exhaled, setting my phone down. Safe is one word for it. By nightfall, the storm had rolled in hard. While the wind rattled the shutters and rain streaked the glass in frantic patterns. Dad was in the kitchen making tea when the lights flickered and went out completely. Power's gone, he called. Juliet lit a single candle in the living room. The flame threw long shadows against the walls. It's colder now, she said. I pulled a blanket from the back of the couch and tossed it to her. Here, come here, she said, opening it halfway. It's big enough for both of us. I hesitated. Juliet, what? Her tone was light, but her eyes didn't match it. It's not a good idea. She lifted the corner higher. And yet, you haven't moved away? Dad's voice carried faintly from the kitchen. I'll be upstairs checking the fuse box. Footsteps creaked on the wooden stairs, then faded. I sat beside her, the blanket wrapped over our shoulders, our knees touching. The warmth of her body seeped into mine. You're shaking, she said softly. It's cold, I lied. It's not the cold. She shifted closer. Tell me about when you were a kid. Before she trailed off, letting the unspoken fill the space between us. Before Mom died? Yes. I stared at the candle flame. I don't talk about it much. Maybe you should. Used to sit with me by the fireplace. I said. We'd drink cocoa and she'd tell me stories. This cabin feels a lot like that. Juliet's voice lowered. I'd like to be part of that for you. That's not how this works, I said. Maybe it could be, she whispered. Her fingers brushed mine under the blanket. You think about it, don't you? Close my eyes for a second too long. I can't answer that. You already did. Her hand found my wrist, fingers lingering just enough to feel my pulse. It's fast, she said. I opened my mouth, but before I could speak, the cabin door banged open. Dad stepped in wet from the rain. Blanket's a good idea. It's freezing. Juliet smiled up at him. We were just keeping warm. Smart, he said, setting a bag of extra candles on the table. Power might not be back until morning. I moved to stand. But Juliet's hand stayed on my arm a second longer than necessary before she let go. Dad busied himself arranging candles around the room. We'll play cards after this. Cabin nights aren't so bad, huh? Juliet's gaze caught mine over the flickering light. Not bad at all, she said. I looked away, focusing on the rain hammering the roof, pretending it drowned out the pounding in my chest. The air in the garage was cool, smelling faintly of oil and cedar from the stacked lumber along the wall. I was tightening a loose bolt on the workbench when the door creaked open. You're hiding, Juliet said. I kept my eyes on the wrench. I'm working. She stepped inside, closing the door. That's what you tell yourself? So it's true? Her footsteps echoed against the concrete until she stopped beside me. You've been avoiding me since the cabin. Been busy. You don't believe that? Set the wrench down, finally looking at her. Her cheeks were flushed, eyes bright with something I couldn't name. What do you want, Juliet? It's the truth, she said. I don't owe you that. Maybe not, she replied, but I'm going to give you mine. I crossed my arms. I'm listening. She exhaled slowly. I didn't marry your father for love. I stared at her. Say that again? You heard me? You're serious. Dead serious, she said. I married him because he could give me stability, security, a life I didn't have before. My pulse thudded in my ears. You're telling me this like it's nothing? It's not nothing. It's everything. Because from the moment I met you, I knew I was in trouble. That's insane, I said. Is it? You think I don't see the way you look at me? You're married to my father? She took a step closer. And yet here you are, still standing here. I forced my voice to stay steady. You're ruining everything. Or maybe I'm telling the truth before it's too late. I shook my head. Too late for what? For pretending, she said. I moved toward the workbench, needing distance. Can't say things like this. I already did, she said. You didn't walk out. Because I'm trying to understand how someone could say something so destructive. Her voice softened. It's only destructive if we act on it. That's not helping, I said. Maybe I don't want to help. I clenched my fists. You think this is a game? No, she said firmly. I think this is the first honest conversation we've ever had. My breath caught for a second before I turned away. You should leave. Tell me you don't feel it, she said from behind me. I didn't answer. That's what I thought. She whispered. The sound of the door opening filled the space, then the quiet thud as it shut. I stood there in the stillness. Every word she'd said replaying in my mind until I felt dizzy. That night at dinner, her gaze kept finding mine across the table. My father chatted about the stock market, oblivious. I could barely swallow my food. You're quiet, he said to me. Long day, I muttered. Juliet's fork scraped her plate softly. We all have those, she said, her voice calm. But her eyes locked on mine for a fraction longer than necessary. I dropped my gaze to my glass. Dad reached for his water. I'll be heading out next week for that conference in Chicago. It'll be a full 7 days. My fork froze midair. 7, that's right, he said. I'll leave Monday morning, back Sunday night. You two will have the house to yourselves. Juliet didn't look at him. She looked at me. That'll be quiet, I said. Dad laughed. Quiet's good sometimes. Gives you space to think. Juliet's lips curved slowly, almost imperceptibly. Yes, space can be useful. I forced a sip of water, heat crawling up my neck. Dad went on about his itinerary, completely unaware. Juliet kept her attention fixed on me, her eyes saying everything she didn't dare speak aloud. and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't look away. The house felt hollow without my father. His suitcase had barely left the driveway before Juliet appeared in the kitchen doorway with 2 mugs of coffee. "You like yours black, right?" she asked. "You already know," I said, her lips curved. Faintly, just making sure. She slid the mug toward me and leaned across the counter. "What's your plan for the week?" "Work. Maybe hit the gym." "That's all? It's enough." She tilted her head. "We could do something together. Keep each other company." "Got. I think we're fine on our own." Her hand brushed mine as she took her mug back. "We'll see." That afternoon, I sat at my desk, laptop open, when she appeared in the doorway again. "Your room's too quiet," she said, stepping in. "I like quiet. You need music." She crossed to my shelf, flipping through vinyl records like she lived here. "1, I'm working." "You can work with music," she said, dropping the needle. Soft piano filled the room. She didn't leave. Instead, she perched on the edge of my bed. "You're making it hard to concentrate." "It's the idea," she said lightly. I turned back to my screen. "You should let me finish this." She stayed fine. "I'll just sit here." The next day, she found me in the kitchen. I was stirring pasta when she moved in beside me. Close enough that her hip pressed mine. "Smells good," she murmured. "Give me space." "Sorry," she said, not moving. Her arm brushed mine as she reached for the salt. "Accident." "Sure," I said. That night I stepped out onto the balcony to clear my head. The air was cool, the moonlight silver on the lawn. Juliet's voice came from behind me. "You're avoiding me again?" "I'm thinking," I said. "About what?" "Everything." She stepped up beside me. "Talk to me. It's complicated. I can handle complicated." I shook my head. "Shouldn't want to." "I want to," she said. "Tell me." I hesitated, then spoke.
Ouch.
"I don't know what this is between us, but it's wrong." She faced me. "Then why can't you stop it?" "Because you keep pushing. Because you keep letting me."
It.
Words hit deep. I turned toward the railing, gripping it hard. "This isn't fair to him." Her voice softened. "Maybe not. But I'm here with you right now." I didn't answer. She touched my arm. "Julian, look at me." I did. Her eyes searched mine. "You're hurting. I can feel it. I'm fine. You're not." Before I could argue, she stepped closer and wrapped her arms around me. "Juliet," I said, my voice unsteady. "Just let me," she whispered. Her body was warm against mine, the scent of her hair pulling me in. I should have stepped back, but I didn't. I held her tighter. When we finally pulled apart, her hands lingered on my arms. Our faces were inches apart. Her breath caught. "We shouldn't." I swallowed hard. "I know." Neither of us moved. The night seemed to close in, leaving only the space between us, and then even that was gone. Asterisk, I was halfway through a sandwich when the front door opened. "Julian." My father's voice called, sharper than usual. I set the plate down and stepped into the hall. "You're home early." He shut the door behind him. Not just me. Juliet appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands. "Robert, I thought you had meetings until 8. Change of plans." His eyes moved between us. "We need to talk." At dinner, something in his tone made my stomach tighten. We sat around the table in silence for a few minutes, the clink of silverware loud in the quiet. Finally, he spoke. "I saw Mrs. Hargrove today." Juliet smiled faintly.
Our neighbor.
She said, "She's noticed a lot of interaction between you and Julian when I'm not here." Juliet's fork paused midair. Interaction, that's what she called it. Juliet set her fork down. "Robert, you know how gossip spreads. She probably saw us talking in the garden or something. Is that all it was?" His gaze turned to me. "Julian." It just felt tight. "Yes, that's all." His eyes narrowed. "You seem tense." "I don't like being accused of something." "I didn't do." "Not accusing," he said, though his tone suggested otherwise. "I'm asking." Juliet leaned back, her voice calm. "Robert, he's grieving." Maybe Mrs. Hargrove misread that closeness as something else. He looked between us. "Grieving is one thing. Giving the neighbors something to talk about is another. Juliet reached across the table, touching his hand. I would never cross that line. His gaze shifted to me again. Would you? No, Juliet's eyes flicked toward me, just for a second. A look I couldn't read, but felt in my bones. Robert pushed his plate away. Then tell me why I feel like I'm missing something here. There's nothing to miss, I said. Then why can't either of you look me in the eye? Juliet laughed softly, shaking her head. Robert, listen to yourself. You're turning dinner into an interrogation. Maybe I should, he said. Her voice dropped, silky and calm. Are you really going to take a neighbor's word over your wife's? He hesitated. I'm asking questions because I care about both of you. Juliet's tone sharpened. Or because you don't trust either of us. That's not what I said. She leaned forward and stopped making it sound that way. Robert looked at me again. Julian, has she ever said or done anything that crossed a line? I could feel Juliet's gaze like heat. No, I said finally. Juliet exhaled, leaning back in her chair. See? This is nothing. Robert didn't look convinced. Then why did Mrs. Hargrove say she saw you two on the balcony holding each other? Juliet smiled faintly, almost pitying. She must have seen a hug. Is that a crime now? My father's jaw clenched. Why were you hugging? Was comforting me, I said. Juliet nodded. Exactly. His mother died, Robert. You think I'd just stand there and watch him break? Robert's eyes darted between us. You're both awfully quick with your answers. It's because it's the truth, Juliet said. I stayed quiet. Robert's voice lowered. Julian, look at me. If something happened, you tell me now. Juliet spoke before I could. Robert, he just said nothing happened. Are you calling him a liar? He turned to her. I'm trying to protect my family. Her voice softened. And I'm part of that family now. Or does that only count when it's convenient? The room felt heavier with every word. Robert finally sat back, rubbing his forehead. I don't like any of this. Juliet reached for his hand again. Then let's end it. You believe me, don't you? His hesitation was brief, but it was there. Yes. Her eyes locked with mine as she smiled sweetly at him. Good. Then we can put this behind us. That smile told me everything. She'd won. She'd turned the suspicion back on me without a single accusation. Robert stood, grabbing his plate. I'm going to bed. Juliet waited until his footsteps faded. Then she looked at me. That was close, she said softly. You set me up, I said. Her eyes glinted. You could have told him the truth. And what truth is that? That you wanted it as much as I did. I shook my head. You're dangerous, she smiled. Maybe. But you're still here. I stood from the table, not for long. Her voice followed me as I walked away. We'll see, Julian. We'll see. In my room, I sat in the dark, the echo of her smile still burning in my mind. She had played me from the start. I knew it now. I knew something else. Karma's coming for her. It's only a matter of time.